Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Chima Ogbonna, and this is my channel called The Page Master. Relax and join me as I take you to a fantasy world and help you escape your daily care. Close your eyes now and let your body sink deeply into your bed. Take the time to subscribe so that you can watch the best of stories. Take a slow, deep breath in through your nose and release it slowly through your lips. Let the tension melt away from your shoulders, your arms, your hands. Feel your breathing becoming slower, deeper, more peaceful. The room around you is growing quieter now, warmer, more comfortable. Imagine you can hear the gentle whisper of autumn leaves rustling outside your window, a distant sound of pages turning in an old book, the soft crackle of a fireplace. Somewhere far away, these sounds are wrapping around you like a warm blanket of tranquility. Your eyelids are growing heavier now, so beautifully heavy as you let yourself drift into this peaceful story. Let your mind wander to a place where dreams and reality blend together in the most soothing way. Our story begins on a crisp October morning at Willowbrook High School, where the maple trees are dressed in shades of gold and crimson, their leaves dancing gently in the cool morning breeze. Picture John Mitchell walking slowly through the school's main courtyard, his worn leather messenger bag slung over his shoulder, containing within it something precious, something that took him weeks to craft, with trembling hands and a hopeful heart. John's footsteps echo softly against the concrete as students gather in small groups around him, their voices creating a gentle murmur that mingles with the morning air. He clutches the strap of his bag tighter, feeling the weight of the folded piece of paper inside. A poem written in his careful handwriting, each word chosen like a precious gemstone. The morning sunlight streams through the canopy of autumn leaves, casting dappled shadows across the courtyard. You can almost smell the scent of crisp air. Mixed with the faint aroma of fresh coffee from the nearby cafe, everything feels warm, hopeful, like the moment before a dream comes true for 3 weeks. John had worked on this poem sitting by his bedroom window each evening. As the sun set, watching the shadows grow longer, the words flowing from his heart onto paper like gentle rain. Each line was a confession, each verse a piece of his soul written for Linda Sweet. Kind Linda, with her gentle smile and the way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was thinking. Can you see John now approaching the spot? Where? Linda usually sits with her friends, his hands slightly shaking as he prepares to pull out the carefully folded poem. The paper is soft from being handled so many times, creased with nervous touches. You can almost feel the smoothness of the paper between your fingers, warm from being close to his heart. They're sitting on a bench beneath the old oak tree is Linda. Her laughter floats through the air like music, light and genuine. When she sees John approaching, her eyes light up with kindness, that natural warmth that first captured his heart. But as John draws closer, his steps growing more hesitant, he notices something else. A group of boys nearby, Marcus and his friends, lounging against the brick wall, their voices carrying across the courtyard with that casual confidence that comes from never having been truly vulnerable. John takes a deep breath, feeling courage flow through him like warm honey. This is his moment, his chance to share the words that have lived in his heart for so long. He approaches Linda, his voice soft but determined. Linda, I have something for you. His voice carries that tender trembling of someone about to bare their soul. Linda looks up with curiosity and kindness, her friends falling quiet with respectful attention. The moment feels suspended in golden morning light, like a scene from a beautiful painting. John extends the folded poem toward her. The paper seems to glow in the soft sunlight. You can feel the anticipation in the air, sweet and gentle like the first snowfall of winter. Linda's eyes widen with surprise as she accepts the poem, her fingers careful and reverent. A poem, she whispers. John, you wrote this for me. John nods, unable to speak, watching as Linda carefully unfolds the paper. Her eyes move across the lines and slowly, beautifully, her expression changes. A soft smile spreads across her face, touched and moved by the genuine emotion in his words. But then, cutting through this tender moment, comes a voice from the group of boys, loud enough to carry across the courtyard. Derek Thompson, Marcus's best friend, his tone casual but deliberately cutting. Hey, John, Derek calls out, his voice carrying that particular brand of thoughtless cruelty that comes from pack mentality. You know, Linda's already been taken, right? She's going to the prom with George. The words hit the peaceful morning air like stones thrown into still water. shattering John's heart into 1,000 pieces, ripples of embarrassment. In devastation spreading outward, John's face flushes, warm, his heart breaking like fragile glass dropped on concrete. You can feel John's heartbreak washing over him in waves, devastating waves that make his chest tight, his hands tremble. The beautiful moment dissolving like morning mist. The cruel words echoing in his mind, already been taken, going to the prom with George. Each repetition like another crack in his breaking heart. Linda looks between John and the group of boys, her expression shifting to horror and deep sympathy. She can see the devastation written across John's face, can feel the weight of his crushed dreams. The group of boys continues their casual conversation, unaware of the devastation. Their careless words have caused, or perhaps not caring. Marcus laughs at something Derek says, the sound carrying across the courtyard like distant thunder. John forces a smile, that brave smile we wear when our hearts are breaking. It's okay, Linda. Really, I wanted you to have the poem anyway. But Derek, curious now, has noticed the paper in Linda's hands. Something about the scene has caught his attention. The way Linda is holding the poem, the emotion in her eyes as she looks at John, the vulnerability written across John's face. What's that? Derek asks, pushing himself off the wall and walking over with that swagger that comes from never having faced real consequences. Can we see this famous poem? Before anyone can protest, before John can object, Derek plucks the poem from Linda's surprised fingers. His eyes scan the words quickly, and you can see the exact moment when understanding dawns, when he realizes what he's holding. This isn't just any poem, this is something extraordinary. Something that speaks of deep feeling, of seeing beauty in small moments, of loving someone for their kindness rather than their status words that could make someone fall deeply in love. Derek's expression changes, becomes calculating, predatory. He thinks of Victoria, beautiful. Wealthy Victoria Ashworth, the richest girl in school. The girl who seems to want something more than expensive gifts and shallow compliments. This is actually pretty good, Mitchell, Derek says, folding the paper and slipping it into his jacket pocket with practiced ease. Mind if I borrow it, to study the technique? If you are loving this kind of content, click on the subscribe button so you can always know when we upload new stories. John reaches out instinctively. That's mine, I wrote it for. But Derek just grins, that charming smile he has perfected over years of getting his way. How can you write a poem for someone, girlfriend? The bell rings long and melodious, signaling the start of first period. Students begin to flow toward the building like gentle streams, and in the movement and confusion, Derek disappears with his friends taking with him John's precious words, his carefully crafted feelings, his vulnerable heart laid bare on paper. John stands there feeling smaller somehow, like he's shrinking into himself. Linda touches his arm gently, her warmth radiating through the simple contact. John, I'm so sorry about George, about the poem. I'll talk to Derek, I'll get it back, but John just shakes his head, forcing that brave smile again. It's okay. Linda, really? They were just words on paper. But you and I know they weren't just words. They were pieces of his soul, fragments of dreams and hopes. Carefully arranged like flowers in a garden of the heart, that evening Derek finds Victoria by her car in the school parking lot. She stands, like a princess beside her sleek BMW, elegant and untouchable, her auburn hair catching the afternoon light like spun gold. But there is something in her eyes, a searching quality, like someone looking for something real in a world of artifice. Derek approaches with his usual confidence, that swagger that comes from never having been truly challenged. Victoria. Beautiful, he says, his voice smooth as silk. I have something special for you. He produces John's poem, now unfolded, and ready, the words that John spent weeks crafting, the feelings that came from his deepest heart. Derek presents them as if they re his own creation, his own gift of love. Victoria takes the paper, her manicured fingers holding it delicately, like touching a butterfly S-wing. And as she reads, you can see the transformation, the way her expression softens, the way her breath catches, the way genuine emotion floods her features like dawn breaking over a mountain. Derek. She whispers, her voice filled with wonder.
Wait, did you really write this?
The words on the paper seem to glow with authenticity, with real feeling, with the kind of depth that touches the soul. Every line speaks of noticing small kindnesses, of seeing beauty in quiet. Moments of loving someone not for their wealth or status, but for their gentle heart. Derek nods his lie smooth and practiced. I stayed up all night writing it, thinking about you, about how you make me feel. Victoria's eyes fill with tears, happy tears. Moved tears. For the first time in their relationship, she feels truly seen, truly appreciated. The poem speaks to parts of her heart that expensive gifts and public displays could never reach. Meanwhile, John walks home through the amber light of evening, his footsteps soft on the leaf-covered sidewalk, the weight of the day pressing gently on his shoulders. Humiliation and disappointment walking beside him like unwelcome companions at home. His younger sibling bounces up from the couch, eyes bright with excitement. John, how did it go? Did Linda say yes to prom? Are you going to wear Dad's old tuxedo? John's heart sinks further. He had untold his family about his plans, had unprepared them for possible disappointment. Before he can answer, his sibling has already run to the kitchen, calling out excitedly, Mom, Dad, John has a prom date. He asked Linda today. John can hear his mother's delighted gasp from the kitchen, can picture her smile, can feel the weight of expectations settling on his shoulders like snow. How can he tell them now? How can he crush their excitement with his failure? That's wonderful, sweetheart. His mother calls out, her voice filled with genuine joy. We all have to go shopping for a corsage and make sure your father's tuxedo fits. John forces himself to smile, to nod, to accept their congratulations, all while knowing that tomorrow he'll have to find a way to explain how to disappoint them gently, to admit that he's going to prom alone or not at all that night. John sits at his desk by the window, moonlight streaming across his notebooks. He has an assignment due tomorrow for Mrs. Harrison S. English class, a poem to recite in front of everyone for their final exam. The final recital that will determine a significant portion of their grade. But the words won't come. His mind keeps drifting back to the stolen poem. 2. Derek's casual theft, to Linda's sympathetic smile, to the humiliation of the morning. The blank page stares back at him like an accusation. Hours pass, the clock ticking toward midnight, toward dawn. John struggles with line after line, crumpling papers, starting over his usual gift for words, seeming to desert him when he needs it most. Finally, as the first hint of sunrise touches his window, the poem comes together, flowing from him like a river, finally finding its course. But he is exhausted, drained. He barely manages to write the final lines before his eyes close, his head dropping to the desk, sleep claiming him in his chair like a gentle embrace. Morning comes softly, golden light filtering through John's curtains, his mother's voice calling from downstairs, the smell of breakfast drifting up. In his haste to get ready to grab his backpack to rush to school, John leaves his new poem lying on his desk, forgotten like a dream upon waking. The school day passes in a blur, classes blending together like watercolors in rain, and then suddenly, it's time for English. Class time, for the final recital time, for the moment that will determine so much of his grade. Mrs. Harrison calls the students forward, one by one, each reading their poems aloud, their voices echoing in the hushed classroom. John's turn approaches like distant thunder, his name called like a bell tolling. He stands, walks to the front of the class, looks out at the sea of faces, and suddenly the realization hits him like a gentle wave. His new poem is at home, lying on his desk like a sleeping bird. But then something magical happens as he stands at the podium, looking out at his classmates. He remembers every word of his original poem. The one Derek stole, the words that came from his deepest heart, my poem. John begins, his voice soft but clear, growing stronger with each word, is called A Dream of Prom. And then, like magic, like music, the words flow from his lips. Every line he wrote for Linda, every verse that came from his deepest heart. Days were lonely, nights were cold. The words in my heart I have never told. I must speak them now, because they are due. Dream of a prom date with you. He recites from memory, his voice filled with genuine emotion, authentic. Feeling that can be faked or stolen, such vulnerable honesty that the entire classroom falls silent. You can feel the weight of authentic feeling in every word, the courage it took to write them. The heartbreak that followed. In the back of the classroom, Victoria Ashworth sits, frozen, her face growing pale as morning mist. These words, these exact words, she knows them by heart. Days were lonely, nights were cold. The words in my heart I have never told, they read the poem. Derek gave her the poem. She fell in love with the poem that captured her heart completely. Her hands begin to tremble like autumn leaves. Her breath catches in her throat. The truth crashes over her like a gentle but unstoppable wave. Derek did. And write these beautiful, heartfelt words. John did. John quiet, honest, authentic. John. As soon as class ends, Victoria rushes to John, her usual composure, cracking like ice in spring. John, wait please. He turns, surprised by the urgency in her voice, by the tears in her eyes. That poem, she says breathlessly. Did you write that poem? John nods, confused by her intensity. Yes, I wrote it a few weeks ago. Why? Victoria's expression shifts through a kaleidoscope of emotions. Your understanding, betrayal, anger, and finally determination. Because Derek gave it to me and told me he wrote it. Told me it was his feelings for me. The confrontation happens in the hallway. Victoria marching up to Derek like an avenging angel. Her voice cutting through the afternoon bustle like silver bells. We need to talk now. She holds up the poem, her voice shaking with controlled fury. These are your words. Are they Derek? John wrote this. I just heard him recite it, every single word. Derek tries to deny it, his usual charm cracking like a facade. But Victoria sees through his lies now, sees the shallow water where she thought there was depth, sees the borrowed words where she hoped for genuine feeling. It's over. She tells him, her voice clear as mountain air. But Victoria's unfinished. She turns back to John, who has been watching this confrontation with wide eyes, his gentle heart torn between vindication and sympathy for Derek's humiliation. John. Victoria says, her voice soft, now vulnerable, I have a proposition for you. She steps closer, and suddenly the hallway feels quieter, more intimate, like the rest of the world has faded away. I want to teach Derek a lesson about what real poetry, real feeling, real authenticity looks like. Would you take me to prom? Not as some kind of revenge, but because I want to spend an evening with someone who writes from the heart. Someone genuine, someone real. John's eyes widen with surprise. With wonder. Victoria, are you sure? I mean, I don't have much money for fancy dinners, or I don't want fancy. Victoria interrupts gently. I want real. I want to go to prom with someone who sees beauty in small things. Now officially ask me to the prom? John then says, days were lonely, nights were cold. The words in my heart I have never told. I must speak them now because they are due. I dream of a prom date with you. And so on. Prom night, John Mitchell, the quiet boy with the poet's heart, arrives at the dance, not alone, not humiliated, but with the most beautiful girl in school on his arm. Victoria radiant in a gown that shimmers like starlight, but more beautiful still, because she chose authenticity over artifice. Subscribe for more.